Khorne is the blood god, the angry and murderous god of chaos, one of the great four powers. His great brass throne sits upon a mountainous pile of bones, the remains of his followers who have died in battle and of the many they have killed in his name. The growing bone pile reflects the success of his worshippers, feeding his glory, but never quenching his thirst for blood and death. Khorne is the power of chaos in its aspect of mindless and absolute violence, destroying everything and everyone within its reach, slaying both friend and foe alike. He is the huntsman of souls, who drives the great armies of chaos before him. His horn sounds in the depths of the chaos wastes, urging his followers ever onwards in search of fresh prey. The gore-maddened followers of Khorne harry beyond the edges of the known world, delighting in slaughter by the tainted light of a blood-stained moon. Khorne watches the wild destruction wrought in his name, and his bellows of rage and delight can be heard echoing across the void between worlds. Khorne is commonly depicted as a muscular humanoid figure hundreds of feet tall, sitting on a vast and weirdly carved throne of brass, which in turn rests on a mountain of blood-stained bones. He's dressed in plate armour of a strange and alien design, elaborately carved and worked with a repeating skull motif. His head is covered by his huge winged helmet, with only a portion of his bestial, snarling face showing beneath the helm. A symbol of Khorne is a skull, the symbol of death. This is often rendered as an X-shaped rune with a bar across the bottom. His followers favour red, black and brass in their dress and armour, the hues of blood, death and Khorne's own armour respectively. The number 8 is also associated with Khorne, and this is reflected in the organisation of his demonic armies and followers. It is also echoed in smaller matters, such as the number of syllables in a demon's name or the potential number of mutations that it might have. Khorne is worshipped by both dreaded chaos warriors and the foul beastmen which follow them. He has no temples as such, since he is worshipped on the battlefield. Furthermore, his followers believe that they would displease him by wasting valuable time building temples and worshipping in them when they could be slaying in Khorne's name. Every life taken by a follower of Khorne increases the blood god's power. He looks with particular favour upon those who take the lives of their friends and allies, and the more death and destruction a creature has caused, the more welcome it is as a sacrifice to Khorne. Any follower who lets a day pass without contributing to the bloody-handed slaughter by which Khorne is worshipped will incur the god's great disfavour. In addition to his human followers, Khorne is worshipped by a number of chaos dwarves, goblin fanatics and half-orcs. His thirst for blood and slaughter appeals particularly to the goblinoid mentality, and in some cases entire tribes of orcs and their kin have turned their backs on their own gods to follow Khorne's bloody paths. Followers of Khorne have no friends and few long-term acquaintances. All are soon to be sacrifices to Khorne. Even another follower of Khorne may try at any time to offer their lives to the blood god. Followers of Khorne may have allies for a short time, but they are always aware that all other intelligent beings fear and hate them, and will seek to destroy them at any opportunity. The followers of Khorne treat Slaanesh worshippers as particular enemies. The two powers personify entirely opposing concepts of the nature of chaos. The followers of Khorne are all warriors. There are few organised cults of Khorne worshippers. He is worshipped only in the act of killing, and his followers often fight as individuals, ignoring bonds of alliance and common faith when it suits them to do so. The code of Khorne is simple: blood and more blood. The use of spells or similar powers to cause death and destruction is abhorrent to him, and he is unlikely to deal with any creature that has ever used magic. The only way to gain favour with him is by killing. Enemies or friends, all the dead are equal in the eyes of Khorne. The only way to incur his displeasure is by not killing. Khorne is opposed to the use of any form of magic and does not grant spells to his followers under any circumstances. There are no wizards dedicated to the service of Khorne. This prohibition against magic does not extend to magical weapons, which aid Khorne's followers in doing his work. Servants of Khorne stood from horizon to horizon, filling the air with their shrieks, gibbers and howls of blood. Their battle banner strained in the coppery wind that blew across their ranks. It was a banner of deepest, darkest red, but with a single rune and a legend of simple devotion: blood for the blood god. At some secret signal, all fell silent, and then came a single shriek of dark and bloody loyalty, a pact of hate and death. It echoed from leathered skins and grew to shake the clouds. And far above the demons' ranks there was an answering roar of bloody approval, torn from Khorne's brazen throat. The bloodthirsters are the most favoured servants of Khorne, and the greatest of his Chaos champions may aspire to joining their ranks. They exist purely for combat, and combat alone. Their bloodlust extends far beyond mortal comprehension, and they will attack everything within their reach with terrible ferocity. They do not know fear other than of Khorne, and act regardless of the cost or consequences, although the usual consequences are death for whoever or whatever they face. Their immense pride in their fighting abilities rarely permits them to call upon allies or servants, and they usually rely only upon their own strength and skill. The bloodthirsters stand taller than a man and are humanoid, with a rangy, muscular build, faces like horned dogs, bestial legs ending in claw-studded hooves, and large, tough, membranous wings. Their hides are covered with gore-flecked crimson fur. Their wings are mottled black and crimson. Their eyes are a milky white, without visible iris or pupil, and their horns and claws have the appearance of blackened iron. Their chaos armour is coloured in keeping with Khorne's own hues of black and red. The bloodthirsters wield great axes, often in conjunction with a whip. The bloodletters are the rank and file of Khorne's demonic armies. The greatest of the blood god's mortal followers may become bloodletters, and the greatest of the bloodletters may ultimately be elevated to the ranks of bloodthirsters. Like all demons of Khorne, the ferocity of the bloodletters is boundless, and they will attack almost any foe without fear or thought of the consequences. Bloodletters often ride juggernauts, the steeds of Khorne, into battle, shrieking his praises as they do so. The bloodletters stand as tall as a man, but apart from their broad shoulders, their frames are slender and wiry, with long arms, elongated, horned skulls, and twisted crested backs. Their naked hides are scaled, varying slightly in colour from deep red to near orange. Their faces are pale and skull-like, with milk-white pupilless eyes. Their long black tongues loll from their razor-toothed mouths. Their horns and claws are blackened and flecked with crimson. They wield wickedly sharp, magical hellblades of red-stained iron and brass. Their baying chills the heart and spreads icy tendrils of fear through weak mortal souls. And yet worse, yet more terrible to behold, are the huntsmen of this fell pack. Following close upon the hounds, urging them ever forward, come deformed beings running and shrieking, shrieking and running, driven by the sateless bloodlust of their kind. With twisted crimson frames they speed across the blighted land, crouched over as if the better to track the terror spore of their prey. Masters of the hunt, they seek the blood of man to offer at the foot of the skull throne, ever hungry for fresh prey, ever willing to tear the warm red flesh with their talons and to smear the gore triumphant upon their curved horns. The flesh hounds, terrible hunting beasts, may be acquired by followers of Khorne, and they may appear among the retinues of his demons. Flesh hounds will fight to the death for their master, and are faultless trackers. Across the chaos wastes, packs of these terrifying creatures chase after their prey, endlessly pursuing the enemies of Khorne. Behind the packs run eager bloodletters, urging the hounds on with piercing whoops and shrieks of glee, ever ready to spill blood for their demanding master. The chaos hunt is a fearsome sight indeed, and few live to recount its gory pursuit. The flesh hounds are hideously canine, and some are 8 feet long from nose to tail. Their lean, wiry frames have an arched back and are covered in blood-red scales. Around their necks is a ruff or collar of spines, connected by an orange-red membrane of taut flesh. This gives the neck added protection. Rows of iron plates are driven into the flesh along their backs, held in place by brazen rivets, each moulded in the shape of Khorne's skull rune. Their apparently unseeing eyes are a milky white. Their wide mouths are equipped with huge blood-stained fangs, and their 2-toed feet end in razor-sharp claws of iron. The Juggernauts, riding beasts, are occasionally granted to champions of Khorne, and are also ridden into battle by the bloodletters of Khorne. The Juggernauts are quadrupeds with broad bodies, the heads of warped bull gods, powerful legs and heavy, wide mouths. Their skins are made of living metal, riveted with Khorne's skull rune. Their hindquarters are less heavily armoured than their massive forequarters. A saddle is often cut into the living metal of the beast's flesh. Juggernauts range in colour from vivid red burnished steel through to deep wrought iron black. And to tell of his beast, the like of it has never been seen. He came upon a mighty steed of groaning iron and brazen steel, a thing of living metal that stood taller than a man and roared with all the furies of 1,000 dead. He sat securely proud in a deep saddle that grew out the very back of this accursed beast, its high posts framing a massive head, part hound, part bull, part the incarnate soul of bloody hate. As it came toward us, we saw its 1,000 close riveted plates, forged in dark fires and bound with runes. Its breath was fear, and its every step a thundering knell of doom. As it bared its brazen, gore-speckled fangs, we lost all heart and turned, fleeing to the safety of the night and terrors still unseen.